New York City, the city that never sleeps, a beacon of opportunity, a global center of art and culture, a symbol of resilience. We see its gleaming skyscrapers, its bustling streets, its vibrant energy. We hear the cacophony of traffic, the laughter of tourists, the music of street performers. But beneath this dazzling facade, a different reality unfolds. A hidden crisis festers in the shadows of luxury apartments and designer boutiques. It's a crisis that touches every borough, every neighborhood, every street corner. It's the crisis of homelessness. The contrast is stark, jarring, and impossible to ignore. On one side, we see the city's affluence on full display. On the other, we see individuals and families struggling to survive. Their belongings crammed into shopping carts, their beds made of cardboard boxes, their lives turned upside down. This isn't just a matter of numbers. It's about human beings. It's about the single mother sleeping on the subway with her children because she can't afford a place to live. It's about the veteran battling PTSD, seeking refuge in a doorway because the system has failed him. It's about the young artist with dreams bigger than his budget, forced to choose between pursuing his passion and keeping a roof over his head. The numbers are staggering. In January 2025, over 120,000 individuals slept in New York City shelters, the highest number since the Great Depression. That's more than the entire population of some cities. But even these figures don't tell the whole story. Experts estimate that over 350,000 New Yorkers experienced some form of homelessness in 2024, a number that has been steadily rising for years. These numbers represent a human tragedy of immense proportions. They represent lost potential, shattered dreams, and lives lived in constant uncertainty. They also represent a systemic failure, a failure to address the root causes of homelessness and provide adequate support for those who need it most. This crisis doesn't discriminate. It affects people of all ages, races, and backgrounds. But certain groups are disproportionately affected, including families with children, single adults with disabilities, and veterans. This isn't just a problem for those experiencing homelessness. It's a problem for all New Yorkers. It's a stain on our city's conscience, a drain on our resources, and a threat to our collective well-being. To understand the roots of this crisis, we need to go back to the late 1970s. A perfect storm of economic shifts, rising rents, and federal housing subsidy cuts under the Reagan administration created the foundation for the crisis we see today. The decline of manufacturing jobs, coupled with the rise of the service sector, left many low-income New Yorkers struggling to make ends meet. The situation was further exacerbated by the closure of mental health institutions, often without providing adequate community-based support. This led to an increase in the number of individuals with mental illness living on the streets, further straining an already overburdened system. The 1981 Right to Shelter law, while well-intentioned, placed an enormous strain on the city's resources. While it guaranteed a bed for anyone in need, it did little to address the root causes of homelessness, leading to a cycle of dependency that continues to this day. The face of homelessness is not a monolith. It's a single mother working 2 jobs, struggling to put food on the table and keep a roof over her children's heads. It's a veteran battling the invisible wounds of war, unable to find his footing in a society that has moved on. It's a young adult aging out of the foster care system with nowhere to turn and no one to rely on. The reasons people become homeless are complex and varied. The loss of a job, a medical emergency, domestic violence, mental illness, and addiction can all be contributing factors. But at the heart of the crisis lies a fundamental lack of affordable housing. When the cost of living outpaces wages, even those working full-time jobs can find themselves priced out of the market. This isn't just about individual circumstances, it's about systemic barriers that make it difficult for people to escape homelessness once they find themselves trapped in its grip. The lack of affordable housing, limited access to mental health and addiction treatment, and bureaucratic hurdles all contribute to a vicious cycle that can be incredibly difficult to break. Section 5, the affordable housing crisis, a root cause. At the core of New York City's homelessness crisis is a severe shortage of affordable housing. With a median rent for a one-bedroom apartment hovering around $2,945 per month in 2024, many New Yorkers are forced to choose between paying rent and putting food on the table. This is especially true for low-income residents. for whom rent can consume more than half of their earnings. The problem is compounded by a widening gap between income and housing costs. Between 2019 and 2024, median home prices in New York City rose by 9.6%, while wages grew by a mere 1.8%. This disparity has made it increasingly difficult for working families to afford a decent place to live. The lack of affordable housing is not just a problem for those experiencing homelessness. It's a problem for the entire city. It contributes to overcrowding, strains public resources, and undermines the economic well-being of the entire community. Section 6. The unseen impact. Families and children in crisis. The impact of homelessness on families and children is particularly devastating. Imagine for a moment the trauma of not having a safe and stable place to call home. Imagine the stress of moving from shelter to shelter, the disruption to education, the constant uncertainty about the future. For the 41,615 children living in New York City shelters, this is their reality. These children are more likely to experience developmental delays, behavioral problems, and chronic illnesses. They're also more likely to fall behind in school and less likely to graduate from high school. The trauma of homelessness can have long-lasting consequences affecting their physical and mental health, their educational attainment, and their future prospects. Section 7. Navigating the shadows, challenges for single adults. Single adults, particularly those with disabilities, face their own unique set of challenges. Many struggle with mental illness, addiction, or physical disabilities, making it difficult for them to maintain employment and secure stable housing. The lack of affordable housing is compounded by a shortage of supportive services for this vulnerable population. There are simply not enough mental health and addiction treatment beds, job training programs, or case management services to meet the growing need. Without adequate support, these individuals often end up trapped in a revolving door of homelessness, cycling between the streets, shelters, and emergency rooms. Section 8. Hope on the front lines, the vital role of nonprofits. In the face of this overwhelming crisis, nonprofit organizations are on the front lines, providing essential services and advocating for change. Organizations like the Bowery Mission, Coalition for the Homeless, and WIN work tirelessly to provide food, shelter, clothing, and support services to those in need. These organizations rely heavily on the generosity of private donors and volunteers to fill the gaps left by inadequate government funding. They are the safety net for the most vulnerable New Yorkers, offering a lifeline of hope and opportunity. However, even with their best efforts, these organizations are only able to reach a fraction of those in need. The scale of the crisis demands a more comprehensive and coordinated response, one that addresses the root causes of homelessness and provides long-term solutions. Section 9. A call to action, shifting perceptions and embracing solutions. The homelessness crisis in New York City is a complex and multifaceted problem, but it is not insurmountable. It requires a shift in both policy and perception. We must move beyond simplistic narratives that blame the victims and embrace solutions that address the root causes of homelessness. This means investing in affordable housing, expanding access to mental health and addiction treatment, and providing supportive services that help individuals and families get back on their feet. It also means challenging the stigma associated with homelessness and recognizing that anyone, regardless of their circumstances, can find themselves in need of help. We must remember that behind the statistics are real people with real stories. They are our neighbors, our friends, and our fellow human beings. They deserve our compassion, our understanding, and our support. We are all stakeholders in this crisis, and we all have a role to play in finding solutions. It's time to come together as a city and demand action. It's time to end homelessness in New York City